Got it, and there we go. Okay, guys, how's that? Elizabeth, you lost your voice. Yeah, you too. It's all good? So, do I have audio on the video and the phone call? And I'm going to start. Well, Kartron room. Okay, good. Sometimes the wireless Bluetooth, which is really good, sometimes it's iffy. You could have a really good signal, but then weird things can happen, such as I have my notes perfectly set, and the wind likes to play games, so it will just blow them all, which I had to go run around, and that's why I'm a few minutes late. It's like, oh, really? Because it likes to take the energy of what we're doing. It's really interesting being on the fringe. I want to thank you guys for showing up on this August 19th, 2018 broadcast, which was the delay from yesterday. And yesterday was 8/18/18, which is really cool, isn't it? So 8/19/18, which is like, oh my God, we're dyslexic. And so here we are at some park who it doesn't really matter the name of, on the way to connect with Rebecca here in Las Vegas. It's really interesting. So you can just go to a pot shop and buy a gram, and it's all legal just to get stoned, and there's no age limit. It's like, wow. So the legalities of that are really interesting because Vegas doesn't care, right? And so think of the revenue. So a apothecary that is owned by 5 doctors, you can just buy as much as you want. Who cares? So I guess you can't smoke on the strip, but then you can smoke on other places. So it's like, isn't that interesting? So I'm still trying to figure that one out. As someone who used to do that for 23 years, and I vibrationally grew out of it, I don't do that anymore. It's not necessary because it really brings me down to a level where I just kind of like disconnect. And so I can't afford that anymore. So after that, as that 23 years was wrapping up from 76 on, it was like, okay, then I would just, then I paranoia because it wasn't legal then. I get into this paranoia big time. Oh my God. And so it's like, oh, they're coming to take me away. Ho, ho. And so you would get into the tap into the collective fear when your sensitivities, are blown open by a few nice puffs. And it's like, oh my God. So now you have this whole recreational movement going on, and it's great for the freedoms and all of that. But in this process of doing the greater work, I look at what affects the energy field. And this is all personal choice, and it's great that people can do that. And sometimes it's important to take the edge off. And so I got a chance to review all of this psychology. Is everything working right? Okay. Okay. So we're going to talk about the heaven thing. Well, yeah, Kartron will. I'm going to have him come through. It's very interesting when you're juggling this stuff. So you can go to a pot shop, 24 hours, buy a gram, do your ID, and just whatever. And they got all this food. So it's like this THC instead of the CBD. CBD is the miracle molecule, cannabinoid, that is for healing and helping with edges of chemotherapy and stuff. But now it's really expanded, and it's all this scientific engineering of this stuff. So they really get this very specific stuff. And so once in a while on Kartron, we'll be looking at it, but I'm not going to trust hotspot broadcasting out from the phone, cast to you through the phone the other direction. YouTube, it's working, so everything's great. Hopefully you guys can see me okay. And it's like, yeah, here. That's why we have pillarettes, because the quantum filter and the pillarette will help you connect in with that unified field energy for that deep, long-lasting flavor. And like Rebecca says, we have Syrian Slims and Pleiadian 100s. And so Kartron's going to come through, and I'll let him take care of it. Thank you for your patience while this whole thing in a hectic way is getting going. So Rebecca might do a broadcast tonight from the Sphinx if the temperature's okay, but it's supposed to be 109 degrees before her flight tonight. So we'll see, because she's got some extra juice, because she's definitely going to have to start broadcasting again on these shows so that you guys can get the benefit of all this healing. She's really, really amplified and paid the great price for it. So, yeah. This is a cute little water park here, with a frog that turns into a fountain. And that's actually the park fountains that kids can just splash around in. Cheap, really cool way to keep them entertained in a 110-degree day. See you guys later. Life good. Uh-oh, we came in too short today. What are we going to do? Hi, everybody. We'll just start jumping. What's going on? Oh, goodness. Oh, hello. How are you? One time we pretended to come in backwards, so we had the ass facing the camera, and that's not the same as two cheeks, you know. It's like just winding up the wrong direction. There's so many beings on this planet that are oriented in their own ways, and the orientation of their process of the direction they're facing in life really determines the nature of their evolution, doesn't it? Hello, this is Beings Kartron once again, and obviously you want more of the same stuff we've done to you before. So on this picnic table is an orange blue thing with it. And so how are you guys doing? This is the report that you should be at, okay? Want to hear that one? You should actually be a card-carrying member of an institution, one that allows you to go through your manic whatever. Take a manic and then add whatever symptom that you want. So that then, instead of a pot shop, it's like a crackpot shop where you can go and say, they're coming to take me away. Oh, they got me and they gave me a nice room and I'm very happy now. Type of energy, because it's so crazy. Because it's like if you guys were actually looking at yourself from the third dimensional level, you'd be like, oh, there's the crazy people, but they're starting to feel things too. So the thirders are about ready to go through what you have gone through. So the nature of your process of being on this leading edge of the surf, of this process, is like, oh my God, can you feel this impending vibration that's approaching that you cannot yet identify? It is a very interesting conflagration of possibility that is neither here nor there because it's indeterminate at this time. So the nature of your presence as beings of light, here to do the blessing with the greater purpose of the mission, those who came here to be primarily dedicated to the light. Yes, Bigfoot, you can hear the little screams. Oh, that's okay. They also get louder as their dimension. Help, help, help. And you have the right to raise your prices if you need to, right when they need you the most. It's like, oh, I don't know what you're doing. I just smoke these pillarettes and life is good. Really, you might want to admit yourself. Or we have this 5-session package that will help you to get the sanity, because this is how the cosmos pays me back for what the hell I went through for you. Catch this in your mouth, my filter. And it's like, we really have felt for you guys as much as the divine realms can feel, but feeling on that level is different. The process of feeling in the divine realms is more like a collective compassion. So when one of them comes into this, their major lesson in landing would be what? Separation. And all the flavors of the rainbow that come with it, such as feeling, compassion, separation, mortality, the third dimensional responsibilities you got to do just to maintain this bodysuit. And so there's not too many volunteers that come in. We are checking this. Elizabeth, that's funny. You said it will be challenging, and you put a question mark on that. And so not really, because they're going to come in. And now the challenge for many of you will be to be able to put it in third dimensional terminology. Oh, by the way, yeah, you know that thing that you've been feeling here? There's a thing called a chakra, and it is the part where the energy collects. So you can consider it almost like a colored part of your body. How can you explain this to people who are just new to this? Because they will be invoking you, okay? So some of them are good enough to invoke you through the protocols of invocation. And if they do it right, then you have a mandatory obligation to show up. That's what heaven has. And boy, do you think they let that out of the bag? There's a hummingbird on a pine tree over there. He's just resting right now. Just kind of interesting. So it's like you guys are going to have such a good position because you won't even be in the dimension. They will come up like into your cosmic office, the vibrational capacity that's neither here nor there. And you will literally be able to facilitate them, but you won't have to take on their story. That's one of the big differences is since the last 13,000 years. You won't have to engage in all of that, right? You can, and females, especially of your Homo sapien species, are more prone to really feeling the pain and suffering, but if you get inundated with that, you'll start getting so bogged down by that, you get the Tammy Faye thing going on with your makeup, then you become less functional and less useful as far as being able to accomplish more. So as you get to this place where you can change the world, we have said this before to those who have been to several of our broadcasts, that right when you get a chance to get things done or make a change or do the right thing, you're not allowed to. Because it's like, okay, oh, the rabbit's too smart. He knows too much. So you've got to pull them out. So that's one way to accomplish your lesson without having to go through it. Does that make sense? Please respond on this chat, because that's how we are communicating and making sure that our sound and everything else is okay. And give us a tech check, please. Because it's like you guys have to have so many different dimensional switches on. You're already way beyond your bodies, but you didn't have a structure in order to be able to function properly. And it's like, what do we do, Kartron? Well, that's why we are creating the new Earth self. This new Earth self and new Earth body is structural. The papers may be out of order now, because the wind had a good time. So let's find, here we go. Oh, this is the first page. This is in order. That breeze can just sneak up. And so we put things on this stuff. Everything good? All right. Yes, Lucy. So here's this. Look, it's forward. This is what we're doing this month. Remember, you've seen this before if you've watched. The past self, we create a dimensional thing, the higher self, the left and right, and the present self. And the second week, we did that to the future. And so now we're doing heaven. So the heaven self is what we're focusing on for you subscribers. And then we'll do the earth. And this is like the personal, right? The present self, where you are in this moment. So literally, we are using time as a Markovic marker or geometry. Because if you're in a linear construct, we always use what we got, right? If there's a garbage truck going by, we say that Jesus is delivering another load. Use your circumstances as they present themselves. So let's get right into the four breaths, and then we'll explain this, and we'll get right into the good stuff, because you guys really are going to do well. And everything seems to be working, right? Good. So let's work well. Ironically, it's shadowy here, but there's a cloud. It's like a little cloud has been helping Patrick today in a big blue desert badass sky. And he's like, oh, thank you. Here, have some shade. Oh, imagine what their cloud beings had to do, the sylphs. And like, okay, wait, he's driving over here. All right, a little more. Oh, there he is. Okay. Oh, we parked. All right. Right, we got to shade the car, maybe. Yes, we can shade the car and hand draw during the broadcast. It's really thoughtful of them, isn't it? Because they're very grateful. Imagine if you had your world occupied by a foreign force. And it was these people, these foreigners that invaded you. And they took your stuff and they did bad things with it. And so it's like you were conquered. And all the wrong things were happening. And you had a beautiful thing going on. And your world was in harmony and balance. Well, that's what happened to the elementals. As their lands, the world, the environment was conquered, imagine what they felt when their world was strip mined or deforested or poisoned or brought in and developed, and they just put their stuff right down. And it started with these churches, these priesthoods that said, oh, there is a sacred Celtic or Druidic or ancient place, and it's honoring this. So this is where the humans can hang. It's really cool. We like these guys. But then, oh, here's the priesthood. You've got to go through us now. It's like, whoa, and then let's develop it and make money and blah, 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 and control and manipulate, take all the energy, not only from our own people, but the planet as well. Imagine the relief that these elementals are feeling as we free that up, because the earth is about ready to get her voice. Look at what's happening. If humanity does not do its job, the earth does it for them. And so that's what you are witnessing, the beginning. The first Trinity cycle of natural adjustments have happened this year. And the second one is preparing, and there will be a third this Earth year. And it could be a series of natural disasters across a part of the world, or it could be just a concentration of triple hurricanes or whatever. And so these are the calibrations on a collective level that the galactic councils have found that is necessary to get the Earth go through its ascension symptoms. Because if you've got a parasite that's sucking on you and digging into you and throwing that part off, then goodness knows you have to shift that, clean it out, and stop that. So the parasitic nature, even from a scientific point of view, Earth will balance itself. Nature always maintains balance. If something's out of whack, like, oh, there's too many deer, well, here comes this other predator that's going to kill it, or a disease or whatever. So it brings itself to balance all the time. So the imbalance that humanity has created is very, very fraught with irresponsibility, isn't it? Oh, we made all these billions, but we just spilled 10 billion gallons of oil and killed all this sea life. Or, hey, Japan, keep killing the whales. Watch what happens. Ooh, F you, Shima. And so here comes the whale into your apartment with a giant tidal wave. Oh, let's burn your nuclear thing. That'll stop you for a while, because you got to stop hurting our guardians. So if humanity can, here's the happy part. if humanity can still stay open to its possibility of a divine nature, to find out, or actually rediscover what it always has known, but conveniently forgot, that it is the steward of all life and needs to take care of it and respect not only the world it's on and the environment, but each other, then the balance won't have to be so dramatic, like all of that fire and flood and everything else. But you know how humanity is. It's very good at being stubborn to maintain. It's actually making a choice to maintain its ignorance of that which is becoming increasingly obvious. So when people who in their third life are seeing this and their house gets burned or washed away, and they're like, oh my God, maybe I should talk to God. Or, oh, whoa, no, no, what's wrong? Why me? This isn't fair. Why is God punishing us? Well, because ding dong, do the math. As above, so below, eye for an eye. Well, imagine if the earth treated humanity the same way that humanity treats the earth. So that's why it has to say, oh, here, keep putting your hand in the fire and see what happens. This is not part of this session, but this is explaining to you how the natural cycle changes of adjustment in relation to ineptitude, a steward race occurs in the world. So let's begin the process of continuing to build your new self this month, because since we malleated and plasticized the past, made it more plasticine and soft and pliable, then we were able to get rid of that really weird dysfunction which was artificially inserted in July for the last 13,000 years, because it was that thing that kept you glitching. And it's like, no matter what, you ever notice how no matter what you did, it was going to keep doing the same thing. So you guys were stuck on stupid on purpose by a very advanced force of the not like nature. And so it was necessary to intervene and bring in the perfect timeline, freeing up everything. And now we'll see where the chips fall, right? Hey, it's Vegas, baby. So it looks like everything's working. To heal the oceans, yes, all of that. It's like, whoa. Now, there is naturally occurring oil that is in the Gulf of Mexico, and it does create itself. It comes up from the ground, but geez, don't just pour it on a seabird and light the match. And so, fossil fuels and all these things that are in conflict with reality, humanity will be facing. And as its world goes, it's going to say, oh, Angels 911, or hey, Joanne Trimbuer, Elizabeth Bronstein, or you other guys, hey, do you do sessions? And I don't know what I'm doing, but I think I'm supposed to get a session because my life just fell apart. And so this is why you guys will come in, and this is why you get this training now and this process and the activation. This is the diagram that we're going to get to, so we're going to start with that one. So this is an as above, so below matrix that has a mirror in it, and that's what we're going to create today. Now, we move this quickly because the tech's working. Oh, goodness. And so that's what we're going to create. Patrick is doing this to himself, with all this hecticity, driving all this way, going through his life and all of that, because he is actually not waiting for the promptings of the universe to say, oh, you're going to have to do this now. You're going to force you out of this place. He has learned to listen to that voice and take the action. Quantum Road Trip then has this guide, the God positioning system, the GPS. We're like, oh, do this. And you're like, oh, maybe I should. Oh, this feels. And he's got this gauge that maybe we should teach you in Quantum Bootcamp too, on how to really live the life of destiny. And so, but to get that, to have a structure to do this is good, because you don't have to spend 20 years going through the process that he did to get to the place where he could be available to receive, transmit, tune into this information, and then filter it into this world so that we could deliver it. So we will do the 4 breaths to soul. This is the establishing your present self as a nodal point, what we are doing. So today we are doing heaven, and this is your higher self. And then there's 3 parts that we are using as a reference, right? So your body self, but then you have your innermost part, the soul self, where we're breathing you to, the spirit, which is the raiment, the cloak around that is adorned, which creates the you self of the ego, the intellect, the person that sees themselves as a separate being here in the material world. And so Patrick has figured out how to make these very good stick figure diagrams. Isn't it wonderful to really explain? Because this is very advanced stuff for those linears like you who are just so beyond that and been twiddling your cosmic thumbs. So, as the temperature heats up. All right, so guys, full breast to soul. We will diagram it, and then we will explain it, and then we're going to build your as above, so below. And so we have to make sure the papers are straight because the wind really loved this paperwork today at the last microsecond before starting. Patrick has learned that the wind loves what he does and he's accepting of its playfulness. So he doesn't get upset, although a unique swear word might show up once in a while as part of an old habit. He's like, guys, I'm getting ready for a show, stop it. And it's really cute. It's really great for the Akashic record that he does okay, and they're like, stop it, give me back my toys. And they're like, oh, but we like them. It's like, ah. So that's how he deals with the world that loves to play with him on a cosmic level, because he certainly wouldn't have any real friends called humans anymore, would he? You all got to have missions and purposes and not fit in and really want this and show up for Daddy K again and again and again in order to fit into his freakish version of reality. So, full breast to soul, everything working? Yes. Well, the wind will take it, right? And it sweeps the energy. So, for instance, this page, the first breath, which is self, imagine the energy that's written on here, because it's all a imprint. When you get this guidance, this is okay. What happened was the phone just said that's it. So it might be too hot. We're outside in the breeze in the desert. So if this goes on, and hopefully you don't push the wrong micro button and change the dimension. You know, moment. Okay. And we chat. Okay, good. Is it working? It's getting hot because it's probably about 100 or something here now in the shade. And so this energy comes by. Is everything working right? No, it was not your end. The phone said, I gotta sleep now. It's like, stop it. So if this is going to get hot, we're going to go right through this, because imagine you're getting ready for the money shot and then it says, oh, tune in next week. There it is for next week. So if you get an energy of this, right, this is why the wind plays with Patrick. And he's imprinted this. And so you get this energy, this information, this aha, this idea is imprinted here through your reality. Your reality meaning the reference that you're operating from. So you've captured this image of that which is going. And so now it's got this energy of this really cool thing. And the wind says, oh, that's yummy, because I really don't want a third dimensional thought or some hangover or something. But I like this. This is good candy. So I'm going to suck this. And the wind will, whoop. Patrick's like, guys, stop it. So he learned not to let them get too many pieces, because then it really gets weird. Okay, so guys, full breast to soul. Then we're going to create your heaven itself. Violet blanket, Saint Germain, coming up through you. Feel the deep violet coming in, loosening up all this juxtaposition of this charges. You guys get this again and again, because each time you get to recalibrate, and it's going to be easier and easier for you to maintain. In breath of violet flame, it hits the shut lungs. Hold it, circulate through your being. Out breath, release all of yourself. Remember this, self. Fall back into the still point. Nice and quiet, the still point within, no movement. Okay, now rest in the still point. All right, the next one, you're going to breathe in the spirit. In breath, still point. Counterclockwise, right? Actually, there's no movement, but this would be the counterclockwise within. circulate it, hold the stillness. So kind of like breathe in that stillness, right? And then hold it. Then you release the spiritual identity in your out breath. And then basically you fall back into the solace behind and within the stillness. So rest in the solace. So you're in a very quiet, behind the quiet place. You guys are so going to see, it's like, oh, God, that's what Kartron did to us. Because if you're in that space, you can start becoming God again. But that's for another broadcast. It's not going to have an overheated desert phone. Third breath, soul, the solace. And Patrick did 2 arrows because it's like, oh, there's nothing there. So what the heck would a solace look like? Well, let's just make blank. Circulate, hold the solace within. See, this is reconfiguring you. He said, that looks good. The angels are opening up your soul curtain behind the solace, revealing your soul. Fall back and release your whole soul identity. You're basically trading one soul self for the other and rest in the soul. And of course, you're going to breathe that in next. Now, fourth breath is source. In breath to soul. Emoliate, circulate. Let that flow through your veins, all the cells, mental, emotional, spiritual, causal, precipitative, actualization, manifestation, cell. Hold this in the temple of in your heart as the Son of God, S-U-N, illuminates in that crystal temple, making the whole temple light up like the sun as you become source. So you are so not yourself anymore. And then you release all of yourself in creation itself. Rest in the source. So now you are in God, in within, and let's do this other part now because the wind is calm and saying, okay, we'll behave. And this is good training for Patrick to be aware of everything that's going on. Like, ooh, got to put the weight on this thing. All right, so guys, as we showed you before, everything's working. Okay. This is the self. Heaven point, earth point. So this is, and so you've got the soul and the spirit and you. The you is the furthest thing out, which is the intellectual plane where movement is. And you're going around the circle of life. Oh, I got to do this. I got to do that. And I got to get this done and have a job and pay the bills and keep a house and raise a family and have a career and make money. All that stuff. The mind is the furthest thing out from your center. So it will give you the biggest, fastest ride. When you get in through this solace and you are not out into this fast moving thing. In. So you breathe in closer, 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 closer. After a while, you're not moving at all. That's why we call it the still point. You're not moving. It's still. Now, there's a lot of movement on the spiritual level, but just getting to the point of explaining how this is not moving and that is has taken 20 good years. So we have time. Now, what we did before, remember, we did a future projection, and we did the crystal pillar as a marker. Remember, we moved through time, and that was the future point. And remember, we did the past point, and we did the higher self thing. So then we sent the energy forward. So you see these arrows? They're like going, okay, we're projecting the masculine, feminine self and the present self into the future. So this is what we did last week. And now it's like, yay. And now it's coming back, bouncing back. So it's like a pinging effect or the ripples in a wave. So as this present you self gets this return, right? It returns, releases the limiting future you self possibility because now it's bouncing back again. And so this changes the whole dynamic. So now, as we do that, this starts reciprocation. These lines, which look like an instrument, strings, are basically the layers of time. And so now, as each time it goes back and forth, it loosens it up. And this creates a higher beginning, which is reinforced reciprocation. So it basically gets on autopilot, energizing the new potential in the higher timelines. So you wind up in the higher timelines because are you wanting to start in the mud to get up to this glorious place? Or are you wanting to start up here and go, oh, that was nice, because you guys are done with the mud of polarity and drama and intensity and density and all that, right? So As this happens, your new present you self creates a new beginning and a new future you self. So now that we've got that done, we have established, where are you, non-glowing paper? There you are. Okay, so this is a very rudimentary drawing of the horizontal timeline of the past and the future. So now that we've got a past and a future, this is your horizontal reference plane on this earth in your life. And then we are creating heaven self. And then this blows up into this, which is what we're going to do now. The higher soul self, and then you've got the earth soul self, the you self, and then we're going to join your soul and your higher self together. So let's do that now. Go back to your source. Just see yourself there, looking out at your soul, your solace, your spirit, and your intellect layers. And so now you are in this very still point where God is inside of you. And so you're looking at this, and you've got your body. It's way out there, but you're in it. Remember, the quantum state has a relative perception. So, and although quantum perception defines the universe, how one perceives reality is how it's expressed back, you can also observe it from these other relative states. See, these things should almost take an hour dissertation about explaining quantum perception and distance and all of that third-party remove stuff within. But this is what we have to work with. Okay, so on the count of three, remember, your soul is in the source. You're in that now. Everything can be heard properly. Is everything working? How is it now? Please report. Glitching video. Ooh, the phone is hot. So we're going to get right into this. Okay, guys. Is it working? Patrick would be typing on the computer, but he cannot. And so, okay, good. The wind is saying, oh, can we have some papers? No, not right now. All right, so, all right, good. On the count of three, to see yourself going above your soul source self. 1, 2, 3. So now you're standing above it. So just see this. You're looking down at the soul light and the source, and all this beautiful God stuff below you. And then you look kind of in front, and there's your you self, the body. You've got the different layers. So now we're going to create an energizing. Okay, so we're going to create this pillar down from your soul self, but from your higher self to the soul self. 1, 2, 3. And now we're going to project it from your higher self position above the veil to your you self. 1, 2, 3. And now we got this trinity, right? This triangle. The triangulation is one of the keys to establishing your coordinates in space and reality. So, rock and roll, kids. Let's start the reciprocation. This is the top part of this. On 3, you're going to bring your soul up to your higher self. Now, this is different because the soul self is that part of the soul that was assigned to be with the body. But you got, and so we're actually bringing this in and creating a reinforcement. And you will see why. So now, this soul self projects up. So be up above where the higher self is. Feel the energy coming up of your soul, joining, giving your higher self the soul again. Because in some ways it didn't have access to the soul because it was the one that was over soul, the manager of your lives. And so it looks like and so then you yourself, which is the intellect, removed from your soul self. So now we have this circulation going on. So it's back and forth, and it's also circulating. So as this goes back and forth, each time through the sympathetic resonance science, the divine association of subtle sciences, it gets a little more like that. So what we're doing now is on the count of 3, we're going to pulse this whole device. And so 1, 2, 3, we're going to pulse this from the higher soul self to the soul self to the you self. 1, 2, 3. And so it's just going to circulate. And now we're going to go from higher soul self to the you self. 1, 2, 3. So now it's circulating in 2 different directions. Because it's the ego and the intellect that requires the most altercation and calibration and adjustment in order for you guys to be really ready for the divine. It's like, are you going to have to go and get your higher self to the hairstylist? It's got it dialed in. Or your soul. It's like, oh, soul, we're going to have to, help you to process issues. No, it's your reference of source. And so as you get this reciprocation, then this keeps energizing the you self, the intellect, the ego identity. I am separate. I'm not one with things. And so this is actually triggering the memory of that which you already know. Does this make sense? And it looks like the technology is working. Okay, good. So now that's this, right? So we to the you self, and then we go up to soul self. So it's like, yay, baby, work it. Now we're going to create a mirror version of that from the higher self. So to create a dimensionality in the higher self realm that is one, it's very interesting. That's why this is groundbreaking. If we had ground that was broken, it would be doing it. But the ground is doing fine with grass on it. So there's no broken ground here. So higher soul self, get in there. As we're creating this at this moment, thank you so much for facilitating this. You are helping us do this because we're using your perceptions as the advanced spectrum of humanity. Okay, the phone is still on. We took the case off. Even a case can affect the temperature. Just don't drop it when it's naked. Oh, I'm sorry, lover, if you plop down, and that'll leave a mark. And so, although it's kind of a handsome scar, yes, a broken screen. Help me, you don't know me anymore. Yes, we do. I text you all the time. Yes, you're the one I touch. Your sensitive pad helps me to connect with the world. You are a part of my life. Oh, we're channeling the phone. We should stop that. And so it's like, oh, yes, use your fingerprint. Yes, the biometric. Oh, touch that point. Touch it, touch it, touch it. I'll open up. Oh, baby. Boy, could we create a sensuous commercial for your new phones. I can swim in the water for you. Just drop me there. Watch what happens. It's like, oh, $1,000. Let me just drop it in the water and see what happens, and not sure if it's covered by insurance. Yes, but then if you touch me, I'll come back to life. See? Oh, baby, work it. It's like maybe the phone's a little too biometric and a little too smart because it gets nervous when you go to the bathroom without it. Oh, let's just go to the bathroom together. Let me text while peeing. That's texting. It's like, guys, how much is enough of this stuff that helps you to disconnect from what's around you? But it does make a good joke, doesn't it? Now, the purpose of this technology is to create a unified focus of consciousness. And even though they want to create a planet of slaves that is disincarnated from its body, just know that that whole reset thing is creating another dimension for you as light workers to come into. That's why once in a while you take this and you set it down and say, oh, trees, water, air, people, hi, neighbor. But it is important to bring in the focus because mankind is so disincarnated. So the divine will use these systems that were created to separate and enslave. But don't tell them that. Shh, this was not said. No Illuminati were harmed during the making of this session. And so, now, get up into higher soul self. Okay, look down, see the energy flowing between your 3 points, your triangulation. Now, this is how we're going to do this. There is an arc level veil, and this is where that separates the legends, the journeys of the heroes, that the myths, from the rest of heaven. And so it is like this thing that's 40 feet up. So you got 4 feet above your head as a body, and then you got about 40 feet up And that's the other veil. So we're going to create a foundation on that upper veil on the bottom of it. So on the count of three, we look up, and now you're going to land as your higher soul self as a reference up there on the upper part of the inside of the arch of the archetype veil. 1, 2, 3. So just see yourself going up, right? And you could be looking down, or you could be upside down, looking up down at this. But the idea is to see yourself up there on that plane. So now just imagine this, and that is your grounded heaven self with your soul self. So now we have this triangulation. So now you're going to have a you self identity, which is like your legend self. This might be really nebulous. Could you please report to us if you guys get this, or are we just really making your life more intellectually challenging to figure out? So now the same thing that's down here, right? The triangulation. Where are you? You have to really make sure it doesn't blow down. So this is the earth plane, you self, soul self, the plane of the mirror, right? So this is the higher self. Now the higher self becomes the upper point facing down, as this is the heaven plane. And so now you have a you self and a soul higher self that comes down to this higher self. And this is a mirror that reflects it. So as above, so below. So now you're here and you're going to project a self as kind of an individual, but the one in its full power, divinity. Imagine yourself as a legendary figure that is part of this myth that is what changed the world. So here you are, this amazing God. You're this hero's journey type of dude and dudette. And so you got this. Now we're going to energize this from the higher self where you are from, remember. And so 1, 2, 3, we pulse that to the soul self. And so 1, 2, 3, we pulse that to the you self. And now we got this circulation, don't we? And we do it the other way. So now you've got two circulations of as above, so below, perfected reflection. What's this going to do if we leave this on for a week? It's going to really energize the true nature of your hero. If you were the one that saved the day, this human race, what would you do? Did you do it? If you were the one that actually came to the hero that had those powers, that you actually created a balance. And so then all divinity was blessed because you were able to land prophecy, because you were there, and then suddenly you got into your power or something, and or maybe millions of years you've been working, and you landed that jet perfectly on the runway of materiality. So this process is the reciprocation that we are doing, and this is new. So you will tell us if you still have a body or bodies. So now circulate. And we're going to just leave this. So this goes to the earth self, and we haven't created the earth self. That's next week. And then we're going to bring it all home for the 5th week, usually 4 weeks. This will then bring it all together, and we will then release the tethers of time. How are you guys doing? The phone is still on. Well, we are going to leave it on. And so if you are disappearing, make sure your text saying, oh, I'm fading. My fingers no longer touch the screen. And so then lucky you, right? You'll be some of the first to ever escape on Kartron's watch. But we know where you leave, and we will find you because we have your signature. It's all on your resume and your release forms. Talk about a release form. So everybody, it might be working, but it's finished. Thanks so much. Next week will be Rebecca may do a broadcast because you just heard episode 6 of the stuff. Thank you for your support. This is